iPrEx study was a randomized clinical trial that was placebo-controlled that we published in November of 2010. And as said, it showed that pre-exposure prophylaxis with emtricitabine and tenofovir was safe and effective for the prevention of HIV acquisition in HIV-uninfected men who have sex with men and transgender women. The questions coming out of that trial were really about how best to implement this. Is this going to work in real life? Would people having access to PrEP stop using condoms or start taking additional risks, a process that we sometimes call risk compensation? There were also questions about whether people could possibly adhere to a prevention pill, given that they're uninfected and really don't have a disease that would motivate daily use of a medication. And so we designed this study called iPrEx OLE, or open label extension. It's intended to be playful. And we recruited people from the prior iPrEx randomized trial, as well as men and trans women who had previously participated in the U.S. safety study of tenofovir pre-exposure prophylaxis and the Adolescent Trials Network study called 082, which had recruited young MSM of color into a randomized PrEP study. So we ended up with a total of 1,770 individuals in iPrEx OLE. They were recruited from Thailand, South Africa, Brazil, Peru, Ecuador, and the United States. Of them, many of them were already HIV infected. But there were 1,603 who were still HIV uninfected and eligible for PrEP. And I think the key findings of this study, which involved 72 weeks of follow-up, was that interest and uptake of PrEP is high. We found that 76% of these men and trans women wanted and started PrEP when given the opportunity to do so. For sure, the opportunities that we gave people were access to PrEP free of charge and provided by an experienced clinician. And combined with a comprehensive package of prevention services. So uptake was high, though, 76% overall. We were impressed by the agency demonstrated by these men and trans women. And by agency, we mean capacity to act on their own behalf. We discovered that men and trans women who are at higher risk for acquiring HIV were more likely to participate in the open label extension, were more likely to take up PrEP, and were more likely to adhere to it. And this is, I think, a major finding for the study because it implies that PrEP will be used by people when they need it the most. That will increase its impact in decreasing HIV transmission, but it also says something very important about the people that we're offering PrEP to, that they can make decisions that are reasonable and appropriate on their own behalf. So again, people who needed PrEP the most used it the most. And this is in contrast to what we had been told when we started this research, which is that the only people who had their act together enough to take a pill a day are already protecting themselves in other ways. And this is not what we found. We found that people can act reasonably and effectively on their own behalf. Another key finding for the study is that adherence has to be good, but it does not have to be perfect. We found that none of our study participants became infected if they used 4 or more tablets a week. We recommended that PrEP be used daily. We think that daily use allows for habit formation. It also gives people the highest drug levels in their body, which gives them a cushion in case a few doses are missed. But importantly, we found that no one, either in the OLE study or in the randomized phase, has become infected with HIV if their drug levels suggest or indicate use of 4 pills or more per week. So this does show some forgiveness for an occasional missed dose, especially if people previously had been taking it consistently. And again, this really argues for that this is something that can be done in real life, if you will. that I think medicine does not work if it has to be taken perfectly, and PrEP, just like antiretroviral therapy, works even if people are not perfect. And then finally, we do not see any evidence of risk compensation. We had thought that when we gave people PrEP, when we told them how effective it could be, when we told them how safe it was, and it was very safe, that we would see the condoms come off, we would see people have more sexual partners. We do not see that. We see, in fact, there's trends toward safer behavior over time. And, this seems incredible, actually, because people really believe in the theory of risk compensation. They believe that people act rationally when it comes to sexual decision-making, even though I think in our personal lives and what we know from science is that many of our decisions are not so rational. But I think importantly, Kim Kester today in the session that starts at 4:30, the same session I'm speaking in, will describe her qualitative research that really explains why PrEP is associated with safer behavior. And what she found by talking to our participants is that PrEP creates a mindfulness around sexual activity, that people get into this attitude and this behavior where they think a lot about their sex, what they want from it, and how best to avoid the adverse consequences of certain sexual practices while getting what they want from their sexual lives. And so mindfulness around sexual conduct is something that we're seeing among PrEP users, and we think it explains the trends towards safer behavior among PrEP users. Thank you.